This is Shooting Spaces with Rich Baum and Brian Berkowitz.
Welcome to Shooting Spaces, the real estate photography podcast. This is Rich Baum from Sacramento, California.
And Brian Berkowitz here from New York. Rich, what's going on? Middle of the summer.
Middle of the summer, we've got some fires again, so you know it's summertime here in California.
Yeah, we had that smoke. We had that smoke hit here like last week in New York. It was crazy. It cut all the way across.
No way.
Yeah,
from Oregon.
Yeah, you looked out and there was like a fog. It was, I think, about a week after you had them bad there.
Unbelievable. Well, we're having droughts, bad drought, and fires. But welcome to California. Anyway, so what's going on, Brian?
Not much. Same old. Been busy shooting.
Mm-hmm.
My August is shaping up to be pretty crazy, but it's all good. And I got a little
commercial work's been going very well. I understand. Been busy.
It's going along. It's chugging along. So as long as I'm keeping busy and continuing to shoot, I'm happy. So
kids and your wife okay? Everything good there?
Yeah, everyone's good. We're still safe in New York. I know some cities out there are getting bad again, but we're still all right here in New York. So
you mean the big C word?
Yeah, the big C word. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but no, we're all right here in New York, and that's it. Just try to get through August and the New York humidity, and then go to the desert in Arizona.
We just had humidity the other day. 102 is not bad in Sacramento when it's dry, but 102, it's humidity is psycho. And I feel for you guys back east that have that humidity. So anyway, let's get right to it. Before we go on to our podcast, I just want to say a word from HD Photo Hub. Provide your clients with the convenience of online ordering and scheduling with HD Photo Hub's new smart scheduling system, built specifically for real estate photography business. With HD Photo Hub, you'll save precious administrative time and with an all-in-one system to deliver your images, videos, 3D scans, and property marketing kits, along with built-in client invoicing, order management, photographer payroll, and so much more. Check out hdphotohub.com to find out more. That's hdphotohub.com. And right now, I wish I was using their payroll and not payroll, but billing and such, because I hate billing and I've just been so busy. Do you drag your feet when it comes to billing? What do you do?
I try not to.
Or you get it right out?
Yeah, I try to make a habit of billing every evening those days' jobs because, for me, it's not as bad, but even for people that do volume work, you miss a day and all of a sudden, you're 5, 6, 7 jobs behind in billing. So I typically,
and it's hard to remember back all the details. What did I do? What were my add-ons? What were the things that I need to bill for?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I try that night to make sure, even if I don't send it directly to the client right then and there, I make sure to at least put it into my system and make sure I have all the details and everything in there. So then, the next day or whenever I'm delivering, I can send an invoice. As you know, most of my work for real estate is commercial now. So I usually send invoice on delivery, which is fine anyway, because I usually have a net 30 and net 45. So 1 day or 2 days is not going to make a difference on my invoice. But yeah, get it out quick. Why wait?
Okay. So what do we have going on today?
We have another Ask the Guys, and we didn't make any recognition last time, but our last Ask the Guys episode was our 50th Ask the Guys. So we were doing number 51 today, but yeah, we did 50.
How many podcasts have we done altogether? Roughly.
That is a good question. Roughly 135, maybe.
I tell you, anybody out there, I might have said it before,
136.
anybody out there thinking of doing a podcast, really think heavy, think long and hard, because it's a lot of work. It's been fun, but, coming up with guests. And I want to just say, if you think you'd like to be a really interesting guest and have a lot to offer to tell people your story or what you're doing, send us a message. You can send me a message at rich@richbaum.com. And love to entertain it. Not by any means saying that we'll get you on a podcast, but never hurts.
Well, we have received a lot of emails, but what I would say to that is, for anyone listening, send us an interesting story, maybe about how you got into the business or something like that, because we've gotten a bunch of emails with people that just give us their numbers and what they're making at the end of the year or how many houses they're shooting, which is fine, but that's not interesting, and that's not necessarily relevant to a lot of people. So more so tell us, if you have a cool story of how you got into the business or stuff like that.
A compelling story that would be of interest and education to help others or keep people interested. So
exactly.
That's yeah.
But all right. So Ask the Guys, episode 51.
What is Ask the Guys, Brian? Tell us, what is Ask the Guys for those that don't know?
Those that don't know, you submit a question via our website. There's a little widget in there where you can record a question, or you can just record a question on your phone and email it over to us, or text it to us, or however you want to get it to us. Just send us a recording of a question and any question you have in the industry, and Rich and I will do our best to answer it in the best way we can, or for that matter, what we do to in our business to help answer your question. And if something that is out of our realm, we will try our best to find a professional that specializes in that particular topic. I know we've had before a legal question. We had an attorney on for one. I know we've had composition questions. We've had Tony on for one. So I don't know. I'm sure there's some more. There's 50 of them. But yeah, if there's something that Rich and I can't specifically answer, we'll go and get someone that hopefully can do it. So,
and what's our Ask the Guys today? Who's it from and what's it about?
It's from Zach Alfs, and I will play it for you now, so you have an idea. Here we go.
Hey guys, this is Zach Alfs with the One Package Real Estate Photography here in Indianapolis, Indiana. You can find me at theonepackage.com. The question I have for you is, how do you shoot your exteriors in the rain? Indiana is very unpredictable for weather, so even if the radar shows completely clear that day, it still might start sprinkling or even raining when you show up for a shoot. And I'm still kind of nervous when I bring my camera outside to get the photos that I need to deliver to my clients. So love the podcast, been listening to you guys almost every single day for at least the last month on my way to my shoots and even during my shoots. So thank you so much. It's helped me out tremendously. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on shooting exteriors in the rain.
Well, thanks, Zach, for listening to us every single day for the last month and have not turned it off yet. So we're in a good place there.
Zach, it's a pleasure to get your question. And Indianapolis, I love Indianapolis. And you know what? I know exactly what you're saying because I worked on the movie Hoosiers, and we were there, and the entire month of October was rain every single day on the movie set, and it was just beyond. And then came the ice storms and the sleet storms and the freezing cold weather. Oh boy, Indiana was tough there in the winter, but
the movie turned out all right. So
you know what? That was one movie we didn't think was going to be very good at all, and
it was awesome. I loved it.
I know I did like it, but when we made it, we didn't think it was going to be great at all. And it just shows you editing and a movie score. The music really.
Gene Hackman, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Gene Hackman, Barbara Hershey, and it was just it was a fun movie too. Really had a good time. But back to the question, and I'm going to throw it to you first, Brian. And I've got a few ideas to add on to the question regarding maybe shooting in humidity, heat, because I can tell you a lot more about shooting in heat than rain because I live in California.
Yeah, no, for sure. We can.
Why don't you tell us?
Yeah, we can take this topic a lot of ways because we don't really talk about shooting exteriors in general very much. So we can go all different ways with this. Exteriors in the rain is a tough thing. I don't do it. I don't have the balls to bring my camera out in the rain. If it look, I mean, first of all, my clients don't really want it. Now I understand if you're in a situation where you're having a month of rain and your clients need to get those images up, it is what it is. And, you'll have to shoot it as is. But here in New York, we very rarely have, a month or even a week or two straight of rain. It's usually, a day or 2 or 3 days max of rain where we can pop back out 2 or 3 days later and get some nice shots of exteriors. So if it turns out that it's poor weather, what I personally do is if if the client, if the agent, for instance, needs the interiors ASAP, if they need to get those images up by a certain date, then I'll go out and if they're okay with it, just shoot the exteriors and then, go back 2 or 3 days later and shoot the exteriors, I'm sorry. So long as it's not too far. If it's within a certain distance of my house, I'm okay just kind of going back and, it's a pain in the ass, but just making nice with my client. If it's afar, then I'll charge them extra. If they need to have them ASAP, both exterior and interior, then I will try to wait for a few minutes of downtime in the rain, even though it looks gloomy and nasty out. And if it's nice for even a minute or two, just jump out, get what I need, and jump back in. And it's going to look wet and it's going to look gloomy and it's going to look rainy, but very rarely will I take my camera out in the rain. Maybe if it's like a mist or a couple drops, I'll bring it out for a little bit. But if it's raining, I just don't have the stomach for that yet. But that being said, I've heard of people that bring umbrellas out and shoot with umbrellas and all that different types of stuff. So I'm sure you've seen a gamut, Rich.
I think I'm going to be able to elaborate on this a lot because I've had a lot of experience shooting in the rain. And it does rain here in the winter. It rarely rains here in the summer. But okay, for me, a couple of things. One is, I understand what you're saying, Brian, about, you have the luxury of maybe coming back, rescheduling or whatever. But a lot of photographers out there, and I know that when I'm busy, I don't have the luxury of an agent going, well, it's looking cloudy today. I don't know if we're going to shoot. I'm sorry, but you know what? I can also do sky replacements. I can go out and make it look. I've shot in the rain and it looked great adding a blue sky or such. And then you can also talk to your client and say, hey, I can do sky replacements and make a few bucks doing sky replacements or outsourcing. Okay, so if I'm in the rain, now I also shoot Spartan races or marathons and running races, and I'll be outside shooting for 8 to 10 hours, 12 hours some days. And I have often shot in pouring torrential downpours. And I happen to have weatherproof think tank hydrophobia weather covers for all my cameras. So that's an option, but that's an extreme case. And I've literally shot in 50 mile an hour winds. My first Spartan race on a mountaintop, people still remember it. I'm sitting up there in my marine weather gear, not just rain jacket. And I've got my cover on and I'm shooting and I'm sort of shooting into the wind, the 50 mile an hour wind. And my hood keeps filling up with water and I have to tilt it over and drain the water. And the DSLRs, I will say, compared to mirrorless Sonys, are much more weather sealed. So if your camera is not, if your lenses are not weather sealed, and if your camera is not weather sealed, you have to take it much more with a grain of salt. But in real estate photography, what you can do are a few things. One is, you can always have an umbrella in your car, a big golf umbrella, and get one that is really good. Go to a golf shop and don't get one at like Kmart. Get a really good umbrella because it's really great to have. It fits in your car. It's really big. And you can always say to the agent, I'm happy to shoot, but you're going to have to stand by me and hold the umbrella to cover me. And that may seem hokey to some people, but it's actually a very viable thing. And I've never had an agent say no because they need the photos and I'm going, okay, I'm going to do this and risk my stuff and bring it out, but I need you to hold the umbrella. Well, that works great. And most modern cameras are going to hold up to a certain amount of moisture, okay? I think you can also use a baggie. You can use a Ziploc bag. You can use a really nice rain cover, as I had mentioned. Or some people go to their camera store and get these cheap little plastic ones with a little pull tie around the lens. Mm-hmm. The problem with that is they never last. They always break. So just go buy a nice rain cover, Zach, in Indiana, because it rains so much. Get the Think Tank Hydrophobia. It's really good. And they make it for mirrorless cameras now. They make it for DSLRs. You can get them that fit a battery grip and things like that. And also exterior shots. For daytime, I always only shoot handheld. So you don't need to have a tripod out in the rain. You just go shoot it. Another thing I got that I've had people gas on me about is you go to Amazon and look for an umbrella hat. Now, this is a thing that goes on your head. I swear to God, it looks stupid. and it goes on, a band goes around your forehead.
You have
and
a
your
picture
back
of
your
yourself
head.
with it?
And I do. And I'll send you a picture and we can post it on the show notes for this
Please do.
webinar. But just go to Amazon and look up rain hat and you'll see dozens of them. They come in all kinds of colors. And believe it or not, unless it's really windy, believe it or not, this thing works. And it is totally big enough where you can sneak under a DSLR or a mirrorless with a wide angle lens and shoot in the rain. And that works great. So, and I just think it's not realistic to reschedule every day for rain. And I know, Zach, I know where you're coming from. You can't do it. It's just not realistic. It's like people going, it's overcast, it's cloudy today or overcast. I want to reschedule. I'm like, I'm sorry, I just don't have that leeway. If you want it, we got to shoot it. I can make it look really good. You can do a lot with editing too, pop it a little bit, add a little exposure, this and that. The other thing I want to mention is shooting in humidity and shooting in freezing cold. I recently shot another. It was actually one room was 0 degrees and one room was 12 degrees below zero, a refrigerated storage facility. And it worked out great. But what you need to have is, now you got to understand the process of, is it going from warm to cold or cold to warm? Well, in my experience, and I don't live in Florida, but I had not humidity, but I was dealing with cold to warm. It is shooting in cold. Then when you come out in the warm, it causes the condensation on your lens.
Yeah,
so
I get that in New York all the time. That's a big thing in the summer.
For it.
Yeah.
So you got to prepare for it and have an extra camera with an extra lens standing by, or be able to give it, I think about 15 minutes max. You can get that temperature back in there, so it's not going to cause the problem. And for me, it worked out just great. I posted it in the groups. Anybody, okay, I'm going to be doing this and that. I got a zillion people telling me a zillion different answers and going, oh, you've got to have this and that, and you've got to have blah blah blah. And it's no big deal. I waited 10 minutes. I went from the freezing 12 degrees below zero to it was probably 95 degrees. And I just waited about 15 minutes and it evened out and I had no problems. What's your experience there?
Yeah, I mean, we get it so bad here in New York with the humidity that if I'm
air conditioning, right?
If I'm driving to a shoot and the air is on in my car, when I walk out of my car,
cold to hot. That's right.
And set up for an outdoor shot or an exterior, and I'm just pulling everything out of the car, everything will just fog up, and I got to wait, like you said, 10 minutes. So yeah, I'm sure, like you said, there are tricks to that, but I do what you do. I just wait it out. I have a little lens cloth. I keep brushing it.
Just be prepared. Yeah. Just know you're gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah, no, that's really bad.
Another thing too is if you're shooting outdoors in the rain, bring a towel. And sometimes I'll just even stick the towel down my shirt and I'll have it right there and I can raise it up and wipe the camera off. But don't be super, super babyish or something. These are tools, cameras. And I mean, seriously, use this with a grain of salt and don't go, damn you, Rich Baum, my camera died because of you. But me personally, I'm a professional. I've got to shoot in the rain sometimes, and I just deal with it. And DSLRs, again, work better. Full-on DSLR, Canon and Nikon DSLRs are definitely harder than Sony. But if you got a professional Sony with the G Master lenses or whatever lenses, they're waterproof, or not waterproof, water resistant and weather sealed. And that's not saying you can put them in the water, but it is saying they probably will work fine. Yeah, these cameras are pretty hardy. So, I just say go do what you can do. And also get an understanding with your client and add on a little extra money. Say, hey, I'm willing to do this, but you're gonna have to make some concessions for me. Yeah.
Cool. I have a couple questions for you about this, Rich. But before I continue on, I want to say a quick word from iGuide. Are you looking to expand your real estate photography business, stand out from the crowd by offering 3D tours, accurate room measurements, square footage calculations, and professionally drafted floor plans, all from the click of a button with a state-of-the-art iGuide camera system? Get your first 5 standard iGuides up to 3,000 square feet free by adding the code Shooting Spaces in the referral section at camera purchase. Visit goiguide.com to learn more. And back to it, so let me ask you: are there any tips or tricks, for that matter, no pun intended?
Wait, before you do that, I'm going to share my screen and enable my sharing. And this will be a reason you got to sometimes watch this on YouTube. Can you enable that?
Give me a sec. All right.
Okay.
For those interested, go to YouTube. You'll see what Rich is sharing.
For those interested, go to YouTube, and it's pretty funny to look at. But can you see my screen now?
No.
Oh wait. Oh, you go. Okay, share. There you go. Okay, you see my screen?
I do see your screen, and I see.
Do you see the hats?
Yes, the one on the left. Okay, with the tie dye is fantastic.
I like this one. Looks like it's got a double. Look at that. Look at that. It's got a double.
The top one goes in reverse.
Yeah, well, the reverse might work. Yeah, but anyway, it looks really stupid.
Under $10.
People make fun of me. They're really cheap, and you know what? I have one that I've had for 10 years. I've probably used it 15 times in rain, and it works every time. I just keep it in the car. So there we go. Beautiful. Okay, stop sharing. Okay.
Okay, so let me ask you: are there any tips and tricks when shooting, as far as settings, to avoid seeing the actual raindrops? Because I don't do it often. I mean, I'm assuming you have to just very fast shutter speed. No?
You know what? I don't have a solid example. And I guess that's because I don't really care about it that much. But I don't think you ever see the raindrops. I could be wrong. And if you're worried about it, yeah, raise your shutter speed to 1/25th of a second, but these are exteriors. You should be able to get 1/25th of a second, but no, unless it's a downpour. And you know what? I don't recommend shooting if it's a complete downpour. Just then you call it. But I don't think it's a real problem. Now one thing I want to add too is a lot of people ask me wetting down the ground for twilight photography. And I want to say that a couple of reasons. I don't believe in it. And one reason is for ethically here in California, we always have such droughts that I did a post and I posted some pictures with wetting down. An agent wanted me to wet down because it reflects the lights of the house and it makes it look cinematically. We do it in movies, wet it down at night. So it gives it that beautiful reflective glow in the concrete and the floor. But the problem is, ethically, people got really mad at me. How dare you wet down in a drought? And we're always in a drought. But Indiana, you don't have that problem. The problem with wetting down is by the time you finish one area wetting down, in the summer especially, usually it's dry on the other side. And always talk your agents out of wetting down, because inevitably it's going to become dapple, light water and dry and water and dry. And dapple looks way worse than dry or wet. So just don't do the wet down. Okay.
Yeah, I've never wet down, but did you ever find that it looks strange with wet down concrete, but a beautiful sunset showing absolutely no what looks like rain or anything in the foreground?
Pish. You're too. The people don't look at that. They just, agents and client potential homeowners don't look at that. They don't stare at it and go, that doesn't look, the sun's coming from the wrong direction, or those clouds, those are not clouds we have in Indiana, those are clouds you have in California. Now, where'd you get these clouds? I'm not going to buy the house because of the clouds. Okay. No, I don't really think of that. And you know what? Use a sky replacement with some clouds, and it's just after the downburst. And by the way, if I did 100 twilights that were supposed to be, or twilight shoots that were supposed to be rain, I would say that 90+% of them, I was able to squeak it out in between the raindrops and get my shots that I need. So I'd say go with it. But no, I don't think it's a problem wetting down with the sky replacement. So
cool.
But that's just me.
I want to circle back to something that I don't think we've ever spoken about, or maybe I'm sure over 135 episodes we have sometime or another. You shoot all your exteriors all the time handheld?
Yes.
Interesting.
Simple answer.
Yeah.
I just, here's the deal. Okay. Unless I'm doing a big shoot with a tilt shift, or I need to get it up higher. Sometimes I do my exteriors with a pole, but no, I just do it handheld. And this is where you don't want to, for one, don't do HDR. Don't do HDR for your exteriors unless it's an extreme case. You can get so much latitude and dynamic range out of a raw image. Just don't do HDR. I hate it when people do that. But hand hold it, because you can do these shots so fast and so easy. This is where you make up your time. You get 15 exterior shots to add on to the 30, that add on your 25, 19, I call it. Normally I do 19 interiors. And then you add on 9, 10, 12 exteriors. You're saving time because it's only taking you 5 minutes to do an exterior shoot. So no, I just handle it.
I mean, I personally,
nighttime twilights, I always use a tripod.
Yeah, I mean, I never personally deliver that many exterior shots in general. I usually maybe 2 of the front, 2 of the back. And I've occasionally done handheld if a client asks me to go and just shoot an exterior of a house, I don't need to shoot interiors, and I'll just go handheld and I'll shoot a little wider. This way I have some extra leeway for perspective correction.
Good idea. Yeah.
But because I go into a house and I generally, the first thing I do is I set up my gear. My camera's already on my tripod. So I just run out and it takes a couple of seconds longer, but I'm already set up at that point. And I'm also not shooting, like you said, 9 or 10 exteriors. I'm doing 1 or 2 in the front, 1 or 2 in the back, maybe 3 of the back if it's a huge yard, and then heading back in. So I mean, I do what you do. I do shoot just single exposure raw file, and I'm able to pull, like you said, just tons and tons of information out of that. But I usually just use a tripod, and I'm not sure why, because when I've gone and done handheld for occasional jobs, they look just the same and are fine. So maybe
try it without a tripod. I don't understand why you would need a tripod, because you're shooting at I can easily shoot a stationary subject at 1/20th of a second. I mean, the rule, you want to double your focal length, but like at 50 millimeters, you want to shoot at 1/100th of a second. But you know what? For if you get, when I shoot handheld also in low light, I tend to make it like I'm shooting a gun, where I will literally loosen my hands and I'll let out my breath, and then I'll push down the shutter really, really softly. And I can actually shoot handheld sometimes to 1/4 of a second if I'm really on my game. But I've been doing it a long time. And I just find if I'm shooting on a tripod, I'm not mobile enough. I have issues with landscape. I have to go up hills. And I'm moving around really quick. I have to go over walls. I have to go back. I have to get down low. And for me to do a tripod is going to triple my time. I mean, quadruple my time, no question. And then if I want to lose the tripod, I've got it there. What do I do with the tripod? So I have to move the tripod, and then I have to go up and, like, I'm not going to put a tripod up on a hill to get a picture of the back of the yard. So I'm not saying anything negative about using a tripod.
Do you shoot with a zoom lens usually then for the exteriors?
No. Yes and no. If I'm using a zoom lens inside, if I'm using my A7 III with a 16-35, let's say, or a tilt shift, I'll take that outside and shoot the exteriors with that. If I am using my my Samyang 12 millimeter manual lens, which is 18 millimeters equivalent on a full frame, I will just shoot with that. I don't get too fancy with this.
So you don't shoot you don't shoot your exteriors with a tilt shift and handheld?
Only, I used to do it more, but only if it really, let's say the house is up on a hill. And you can also do a fake tilt shift, as you said, shoot super wide, where you've got plenty of room to crop out the tilt, and then fix the perspective in Lightroom, and then crop out the sides. But occasionally, if I'm doing a shoot like you're doing and it's a big deal, I will use a tilt shift. But I haven't used a tilt shift on an exterior real estate home in a long time. So it's maybe I'm just less of a consummate photographer than some other people.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I have to revisit that. Not that I don't do residential so much now, but I do it occasionally. And obviously, anything that I can do to make my job easier, will just make it easier for me. So,
But what is well, see, that's it. Easier to me is the opposite. What would be an advantage to using, okay, a tripod would be an advantage in really low light. It would also be an advantage if I really wanted to use a tilt shift or deal with composition. I would have more time to choose the exact composition. But I don't understand what the advantage to using a tripod would be when handheld is just so fast and easy. And I don't need to have the stability of a tripod because
so for me, it's not about stability, but it is more about what you said about composition. I can obviously get up higher with a tripod. A lot of the houses I'm doing are very big houses, so giving me the ability to raise it up a little bit more makes a difference. And I typically, just by default, throw my 24 tilt shift on, or if it's a very big house, a 17 on. So being a little stable, I feel a little more comfortable shifting when the camera's on a tripod than shifting handheld with a manual focus lens. Even though I'm shooting usually at 11, but the manual focus scares me a little handheld. If I move a little bit too much and I lose focus, move a foot back, whatever it is, there's probably no truth to that, but I don't know. It's one of those things that.
Well, as you might know, a lot of people know, when I shoot my Samyang lens, it's a manual focus lens. I have not adjusted focus in 4 years or 5 years with it.
Well, with those wide lenses, the hyperfocal distance is what, like 3 feet or something like that?
Well, yeah. And I mean, hyperfocal distance with the Samyang, now each lens differs, each focal length differs, but it and your aperture differs. But if I'm shooting f7.1 on a crop sensor with my manual lens, everything from 3 feet to infinity is in focus. And I set my lens just shy of infinity and I tape it down. I've actually got a piece of tape there. So if I wanted to focus it, I would have to take the tape off and focus it, but I never shoot lower than f7.1 and I never have to focus it and it's never out of focus. Even something that's pretty much in camera. So, I mean, as long as you understand that what hyperfocal focusing, the theory is there, I don't think you need to focus and I think you need to trust. I've also taped down my 17 millimeter Canon tilt shift. It's the same thing. I can tape that down and not have an issue. Now, I might be wrong because your focus might change when you're shifting, doing extreme shifts. I don't know about that. I bet Wayne Capelli would know about that.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure, but what you're saying makes sense. Did you hear?
Well, I have the button on my Sony camera where I push the button and I go I have a program that I go to the center, the center button, and I push that and I go to immediately to 100% zoom in focus. And that way, and then I can push it again and go to 200 and I can then focus with my tilt shift. But I can actually visually focus a tilt shift for exteriors.
Next time I shoot, I'll do that test. I'll take a shot, shift all the way up, take another shot, and then compare them in post when I bring them to the computer. See if we lose.
And what's your feelings on extreme? I used to have the problem with Nikon 19 millimeter when I do an extreme shift one way or the other. I would get some vignetting on the very ends of it. Are you find that you have an issue with that? Do you go to the extreme shifts or do you limit it to
very rarely? I only have to go to extreme shifts when I'm in New York City shooting bigger buildings outside. Other than that, I don't really go to extreme shifts. And even then, sometimes, like I was shooting in the middle of Herald Square a couple of weeks ago. For those that don't know, that's the corner of Broadway and 34th, right where the big flagship Macy's is. And I had to shoot a gigantic building and I had the 17 millimeter tilt shift on. And even with that lens, I needed to do 2 shifts and stitch them together because the building was just too big. And I couldn't even keep the camera straight, meaning like I had to do a fake tilt shift method with a tilt shift lens on because the building was too big. And then stitch them together. So, very rarely do I have to go all the way up that extreme, but occasionally if I'm shooting a big building in the city and, I want the doorway or whatever, the entranceway to be on the bottom of the frame and show how high the building is, then I'll go a full shift. And yeah, there is a little bit of vignetting and it gets a little softer, but stuff that I can usually correct for in post and nothing that's going to be majorly noticeable to any of my clients. So I haven't had a problem in that regard.
I don't use a tilt shift much anymore for real estate, only because it's got to be 50% slower for me to use a tilt shift, just because I do have to deal with the shifting and then I move my camera up and down, and it is better. And I shot a really nice house the other day. I just released a video yesterday on it, and I shot tilt shifts the whole thing. You'd be so proud of me. It was real estate. I only used my 17 for a couple of shots, and I did 24 for almost every shot. And I got to say that it really was nice. It was so much artistic freedom to use the tilt shift. And I could have done fake tilt shifts, but it really was nice. And it did take a lot longer for me to do, but I did really enjoy it. I forgot how much I liked using tilt shift lenses.
Well, I also like to see that you're using 24 also instead of the 17 or the 18. I mean, first of all, maybe it's just a stylistic thing, but I hate going super, super wide on even real estate stuff. And my default go-to lens is a 24. The only time I'll ever throw a 17 on is if I have to shoot a small powder room or something like that, or it's a really small bedroom where it's going to look really small in the shot, or I can only get like one corner with my 24, so I'll have to go 17. But yeah, I rarely use it. My 24 is like my workhorse. I use that all the time. But
it's just, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know if you saw this, but Canon's mirrorless line, they're coming out with their new RF series of tilt shift lenses probably early next year, which is going to include a 14 millimeter tilt shift lens.
Aren't they doing that's cuckoo. Aren't they doing somewhere I heard an autofocus tilt shift?
Yeah, this whole line is supposed to be autofocus.
I would almost buy the camera to have an autofocus.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I have
How are they going to do? That's so bizarre, because when you shift, you're throwing in a whole nother axis. That how do you autofocus? I guess it's the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll find out, because I'm sure. I don't know if I'm going to be able to replace all my tilt shift lenses right away. Over time, obviously, I will. But the 24,
the money you make.
Come on,
go good.
But
the 24 millimeter is absolutely a wonderful focal length, and it's just. And I still had stretching with 24 millimeters, where I wish I had a longer one and I could have moved back and gone 35 millimeters. So I might buy a 35 millimeter. Because I was really surprised. I had the kitchen drawers on the right closest to camera were really wide, and the ones on the other side were smaller, even at 24 millimeters. So anyway, we're getting a little esoteric here. And how did we start with rain, and now we're talking about tilt shifts?
I don't know,
anyway,
but that's why we love this. Anyway, Zach, we want to thank you for submitting your Ask the Guys question. I know we went off on a couple of tangents, but hopefully it was educational for everybody, all the little tangents we went off on. And hopefully you got some insight as to the best practices for you to utilize when shooting in the rain in Indiana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'd like to finish out with my little spiel for Photo Up. Who doesn't like free editing? Brian, you like free editing?
I love free editing.
Yeah, okay. Photo Up is now offering $100 of free editing to Shooting Spaces listeners. You can choose to work with their team of trained editors, starting at just $1 per image, or choose to work directly with an editor to have them learn your specific style, which is a really important thing with outsourcing. Okay, you don't need editing help? Well, Photo Up also provides virtual staging, property websites, photo delivery, and website design and development services. Photo Up even offers specialized virtual assistants starting at under $7 an hour. perfect if you're looking to add an assistant and help with admin and marketing tasks, like we were talking earlier. Marketing and admin stuff. So head over to photoup.net/shooting spaces, or click the Photo Up link on the Shooting Spaces website to redeem your free $100 credit, or simply mention Shooting Spaces when you sign up to receive 10 free credits to try out any of Photo Up's services. Go to photoup.net/shooting spaces and click the link. Okay. Good.
Awesome. And for those, we spoke about it earlier at the beginning, submit some Ask the Guys questions. If you have any questions for us, we need some questions. So go to our website, shootingspacespodcast.com, and there's 2 different places on the homepage, and then on the Ask the Guys link on top, where you can go in and you can record your question right through the website, or just use your phoned voice recorder and you can just shoot us an email with it, and we'll be glad to answer the question if Rich and I know the answer to it and we feel it will serve a good purpose for our education. And with that, Rich, it's always a pleasure. Rich, you and I are going to see each other soon for a project we're working on, and I'm excited. People should follow us on social media. It's not very often we get to actually be together in person. Maybe we'll do like a Facebook Live or something when we're in person. So, everyone can see us together.
We're going to meet up in, is it the Midwest? Is that called the Midwest?
Yeah, it's Midwest. It's definitely Midwest.
We're working on a project together, and separately and together. And don't want to go into it too much. We'll have to discuss going into it, but really exciting stuff. And I'm so jazzed. And it's going to be great to get out of town for 5 days and go work on a Shooting Spaces related project. So keep your eyes and ears open. And yeah, we're going to have to do a bunch of social media next week. So it's going to be fun.
Sounds good. All right, cool. So with that, Rich, as always, it's been a pleasure. I will let you take us out.
Well, I want to say also, check out shootingspaces.net. That's our website that we have all our presets. We have all of our webinars, educational materials, stuff like that. And, just whatever you're doing, really just try and elevate yourself. Listen to Brian's doing all this commercial real estate stuff, and I'm doing big stuff too these days, and just stick with it. It gets faster, it gets better. And I don't know about you, Brian, because you're a better photographer than me, but for me, if I can do it, you can do it. And it ain't brain surgery, but it sure is a lot of fun. I mean, how blessed are we to be able to do real estate photography or photography in general for a living? Yeah. So with that, I'd like to say, until the next time we meet virtually, go do some shooting of spaces.
This has been Shooting Spaces. For more episodes, visit shootingspacespodcast.com and visit our education site at shootingspaces.net.